Welcome to the Back in Time podcast with Kyle and JD, where every week we jump into our DeLorean, cruise to 88 miles per hour, and travel back in time to review our favorite films. Every week we talk about current cinema, the latest trailers, and we pick a new favorite film every single episode.
But I need a nuclear reaction to generate the 1.21 gigawatts of electricity. 1.21 gigawatts!
Don't say that! Never say that! Goonies never say die!
We're the best, we're the beautiful, we're the only Ghostbusters.
Now, here's your host, Kyle Autry, and his co-host, JD. Welcome to the Back in Time podcast. This is Kyle, joined as always by my co-host, JD. Justin, what's happening?
How was that? Was that decent?
That's better. It's like you've been working on it for the last 2 days.
You know, I mean, when you have the DeLorean, you can cut in, you can cut out. You magically appear in time whenever you want.
I'm happy to see that you're finally embracing Wayne's World and you're letting go the anguish of not winning the poll topic with Ace Ventura. And yeah, I'm impressed.
I had forgotten about it until you brought it back up.
Uh-oh. So, does that mean you're back to holding grudges?
I never stopped.
Awesome. So, let's jump into getting some feedback from Saul. What did you hear online? And obviously, we don't have our normal peanut gallery because he was part of the episode. But yeah, I guess let's talk about Jesse. What did you think of his debut?
It was my first threesome. I always imagined there'd be more girls involved.
I almost choked on my water. Oh my gosh.
What she said. Or he, because of gay.
Okay.
That's an Office quote for all the haters out there that are getting really mad at me right now.
Yeah, watch the show. Mind your P's and Q's.
No,
go ahead.
It went well. It was good to have a third voice on there. I thought, props to Jesse. He brought a great third perspective.
Yeah.
And he has a great mind as an intelligent person and as a fan. So it's not just fanboy like you. It's not just supreme intellect like me. It was a mix of the both.
Wait a minute. Did I just get called fanboy?
Fan man?
Okay. Yeah, that's better. No, I have to say, I was super impressed. Like, he was prepared. Like, I thought we were going to have to, like, really kind of wing him along. But he was like, I'm watching the movie in the background. I did all this research. I know all these interesting facts. And I was just like, holy crap. All right.
Well, is that a crack at me? That's a crack at me, isn't it? You son of a bitch.
For not being prepared?
Well, I'm always prepared.
Never. No, we wouldn't do that to you. Yeah, I thought, we got a lot of good feedback online. I think everybody really liked the photo of you and Jesse as Sing and Tap up on Instagram and Twitter. Shout out to our following on there. Again, at Back in Time Pod, if you want to follow us, Twitter, Instagram. Give us a retweet. Write to us, though. We like to interact with you guys.
Yeah, and challenge us, too. I mean, if you guys think that we're sucking, start your own damn podcast. But let us know.
Keep all those comments to yourself. But the positive ones, let us know those. And leave us a 5-star rating and write a little review. And thank you, in all seriousness, for everybody that's been doing that lately. I mean, we've gotten quite a few really positive reviews so far. So that's encouraging.
It really is. And I think that we think our fans every week, and every week we get more and more fans. So a big new thank you to our noobs, and we're going to keep on rocking.
Welcome to the show, newbies. Or noobs, pubes. In this episode, Garth discovers he has pubes. So that's exciting for him.
I might have to jump into the DeLorean, head back to the future, and then rewatch the movie and like bone up on my Garth through, and then come back, and then like it'll be like as if we didn't take this all in one setting.
Yeah, that's a good take. But that's kind of the positive to having a DeLorean, though. I mean, you can pretty much do whatever you want.
It's true.
So, Cool. So why don't we jump into some intro to Wayne's World? So Wayne's World is a 1992 American comedy film directed by Penelope Spheeris, produced by Lorne Michaels, and written by Mike Myers, Bonnie, and Terry Turner. The film stars Myers in his feature film debut, and Wayne Campbell in Dana. I'm sorry. The film stars Myers in his feature film debut as Wayne Campbell, Dana Carvey as Garth Algar, rock and roll fans who broadcast a public access television show. It also features Rob Lowe, Tia Carey, Laura Flynn Boyle, Brian Doyle Murray, Chris Farley, Ed O'Neill, Meatloaf, and Alice Cooper. Talk about a cast. That's like a who's who from a bunch of different genres. Wayne's World was released February 14th, 1992. Valentine's Day.
Aww.
Bummer. That's a little Ghostbusters 2 for you. And was a critical and commercial success. The sequel, Wayne's World 2, would be released December 10th, 1993. That'll be a future episode. We'll talk about that on another date. The movie is based off of the sketch Wayne's World, which was originally a recurring sketch from the NBC television series Saturday Night Live. It evolved from a segment titled Wayne's Power Minute from 1987 on the Canadian Broadcast Centre television series It's Only Rock and Roll, and that was a Mike Myers before he made the Saturday Night Live sketch.
Really?
Yeah, that's back when he was doing... What's the Canadian version of SNL? The sketch group.
Sunday morning reruns.
You're so far off. It's just funny. I love that you totally just. You're like, I'm just gonna go for it. That makes no sense. Oh my gosh. It's on the tip of my tongue here. Second City. That's the one. That's from Toronto. So definitely not Sunday morning brunch or whatever you said it was. So the sketch centered on a local public access television program in Aurora, Illinois, hosted by Wayne Campbell, Mike Myers, an enthusiastic and sardonic long-haired metalhead, and his timid and sometimes high-strung yet equally metal-loving sidekick, best friend, Garth Algar. Wayne lives with his parents and broadcasts his show live from the basement in their house every Friday evening at 10:30. The first Wayne's World sketch appeared on the 13th Saturday Night Live episode of the 1988-89 season. We'll get into some more on the production side here in a second, but what's your first memory of Wayne's World?
It's definitely... I feel like I saw the movie first because being 6 and I was not necessarily all jacked up for SNL. It definitely came on after bedtime.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I went back and saw the sketches until probably like late 90s, early 2000s. So...
And that's what, we talked about it in the trailer breakdown a little bit about, the presentation that they gave. But to me, it's like, this never was an SNL movie, despite it being clearly an SNL movie and the highest grossing SNL movie, if I'm not mistaken. This was always, Wayne's World was always separate from that. And
yeah.
I think at least a lot of us, 90s kids, millennials, Nintendo generation, whatever you want to call us, like, we were too young to really fully appreciate and know what the hell Wayne's World was when we were stuffed in front of the TV to watch it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I would say this is a movie that we probably both saw from like Blockbuster or Family Video, one of those chains, and just kind of turned into loving it over the years, DVD, Blu-ray, which, by the way, if you don't own, you can go to our website, backintimepod.wordpress.com. We have links to be able to buy that. Sends a little bit of kickback to us. Or you can go on one of the Netflix, Hulu, one of those platforms. I'm sure they have it. I know the sequel's on there, but I didn't find it on like Netflix or Amazon Prime. So
and we do not suggest anybody go to any bootleg sites. Call me, I'll tell you which ones to use or anything like that.
Correct. Yeah, and we're not just going to bow to any sponsors here. But yeah, this is brought to you by Netflix. Go to Netflix today. No, I'm kidding. We don't have a sponsorship with Netflix. That'd be cool, though. Man, they could hook us up with like a free $9.99 subscription per month.
For 1 month.
1 month free.
Also known as their normal intro package that we all burned back in 2008.
Right. That's awesome. Now, let's talk a little production. So, in 1991, Wayne's World was greenlit by Paramount Pictures. I'm sure this is in association with SNL. This is based upon a Saturday Night Live sketch following the Blues Brothers in 1980. So, it's the second movie by Paramount in SNL. Penelope Spheeris was hired to direct by Lorne Michaels. Spheeris had previously directed several music documentaries. She said it was a lucky shot. I had been struggling as a female director in the business for many years. I was 45 years old when I got the job. I just kept hanging in there, and Wayne's World happened, and it sort of flipped my life around. So that's kind of a cool story for her. And I thought she does amazing in this movie. I think the directing's perfect. So anything you want to comment on that before I move on?
Yeah, her name's actually pronounced Penelope, and she's a gymnast.
That's another lie by you. But I like that you just make things up.
I'm also quoting a movie. I will let you erase the debt of beer that you owe me if you can name the movie.
When Harry Met Sally?
You know I want to say yes to that so badly. It's from Club Dread.
Oh my gosh. I like that movie too. Okay.
Penelope. No, her name's not actually pronounced Penelope.
Right. So during the filming, Spheeris and Michael Myers clashed quite a bit. According to Spheeris, on one occasion, Myers stormed off the set, upset that there was no margarine for his bagel, only butter.
Stop. Shut up.
I'm serious. That's a direct quote.
Bullshit on you.
That's a direct quote from Entertainment Weekly, from her. So he wanted margarine, not butter. And
okay. We're not leaving this yet.
How could I make that up? He was mad that there was no. He's mad that there was no cheese on his cheese pizza. No, I mean, yeah, that
one made no sense.
That's a real quote. So
the cheese pizza or the margarine?
No, the margarine. That's hilarious.
Do you think he would enjoy? I can't believe it's not butter.
So she also said he was emotionally needy and got more difficult as the shoot went along. You should have heard him bitching when I was trying to do the Bohemian Rhapsody scene. I can't move my neck like that. Why do we have to do so many takes? No one is going to laugh at that. Spheeris attempted to have him calm down by providing him with snacks and promising him Advil. Eventually, they would also argue over the final cut of the film, and Myers prevented her from directing the sequel. So there is a little bit of beef. I did go back and just kind of look into a little bit deeper, and he had an interview, I think around 2009, 2010, where he said his dad was also dying at that time. And I think we can cut him maybe a little bit of slack for, being a little moody on set, knowing that, he can't be there to be with his father, who died like shortly after the release of the movie. Or after filming, I should say.
I've got so many jokes up my sleeve right now, but I'm not even going to unfurl them because that is definitely sad.
Yeah, that's so. And it seems like they maybe have. I don't know if they fixed the relationship, but they both have spoken highly of each other in recent years, at least as far as the film goes. I've got a couple more interesting facts. So, in the movie, Dana Carvey does his own drum playing in his solo scene. What do you think of his drumming?
That's better than my drumming. Was he always a drummer, or did he learn to do it for the movie?
No, he's always played drums, from what I understood.
Interesting.
So he said if he was a musician, he would be considered a terrible drummer. But since he's considered a comedian, the fact that he can carry a beat, people are always super impressed with that.
So a little drummer boy.
Yeah, absolutely. According to Dana Carvey, the robot that Garth is working on is being built to kill Benjamin, Rob Lowe. That's why the arm reaches for him when the two men discuss changes to the show. This is one of two references to the Terminator franchise. The other, the more obvious one, is when Wayne and Garth are pulled over by the T-1000. So anything you want to add to the Terminator references?
I love Terminator, such low-hanging fruit for so many movies to have referenced. That I'm so happy. It almost seems like Wayne's World did it the same as they did their sponsorship GIF.
You know, the one that...
Bit. Same as they've done their sponsorship bit.
Yeah. Sponsorship gets are a lot better, though, in my opinion. The one thing I guess I never really picked up on was the mechanical arm that reaches toward Rob Lowe and then he starts hitting it with the hammer. I didn't know that was a reference to it being a Terminator arm that's trying to kill Rob Lowe.
Okay, in all honesty, I always thought that was a Frankenstein reference.
Yeah. So there you go. I guess it's been cleared up for you.
I'm going to sleep like a champ tonight.
So, Mike Myers originally did not want to share the limelight with Dana Carvey. Myers had developed the Wayne character as a solo character while performing with Second City. The character of Garth was added for SNL. At the time, Carvey was arguably the bigger star. Are you starting to not like Mike Myers? There's not a lot of positive things here.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely learning a lot about Michael Myers, and it's in great comparison to the last Mike Myers we covered. So if you compare the two, I think he's definitely coming out a little bit better. He's not as bad as he could be.
That's a good point. This is also his very first feature film debut.
How old was he?
So 75, 92 would have been 17. Is that right? No, that's when he started acting. Okay, he's 63, so 29. 28 the time they filmed, and 29 when the movie came out.
So he was still so young, and the way that he came up through, CBC, is that correct? Canadian Broadcasting, and then Sunday Morning Brunch?
Yeah, well, essentially it's Second City, but that's what they were broadcast on. Yeah. On
Sunday Morning Brunch, that's right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right.
Like you said, I mean, there's a lot, you hear a lot of stories about, and he's got credit as the writer on this, and to be given the amount of money that they were to make this movie based on a skit, which really that wasn't a big thing back then, to take a 5-minute skit and turn it into a 90-minute movie. So I'm sure the pressure was kind of tremendous.
Do you think this has anything to do with the fact that outside of this franchise, Austin Powers and Shrek, he's done almost nothing?
He was in Inglourious Bastards. Come on.
Okay. Well, I mean, other than that, so you married an axe murderer and
I love that movie.
Quick little scene in Mystery Alaska. Name other movies he's been in.
Liar, Liar, Ace Ventura, How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
You're thinking of Jim Carrey
movies.
You think that has anything to do with, or do you think he chooses not to work as much? Because maybe he doesn't need to.
I don't know, because there's been so many comedians that have their, later year resurgence. I mean, he's due.
Yeah, I guess he does have something coming out pretty soon. It's in post-production, but it's a drama, so it's not going to be a comedy. So I don't know. This movie was shot in 34 days. So by comparison to the last couple movies we've done, which were 17-day shoot and a 22-day shoot. This movie actually has a pretty decent budget, $20 million, and they get, I think they originally had scheduled 40, but they sped it up because of their schedules with SNL. Mm-hmm. And they shaved off some time. Here's one I wanted to touch on. Tia Carrere sang all of her own vocals for the song she performed in the film, Ballroom Blitz. So did you know that's her actual voice?
I did not know, and good for her, because, yeah, that's impressive.
She
now
also...
that song's stuck in my head again.
Ballroom Blitz. Tia credits Mike Myers for writing the role specifically for someone of Asian descent, because this very easily could have gone to your typical blonde hair, blue eye girl. And she was happy that it wasn't, and it gave her the chance to show off, not only her acting ability, but some singing as well.
That's a really good point because Suzanne Summers would have been great in that role.
But they did not do that in the sequel because they brought in Kim Basinger. Blonde hair, blue eyes. So,
Still prefer Suzanne Summers.
She's not bad.
Or Jenny Jones.
Okay. Now you're talking my language. Rob Lowe said he discovered his untapped gift for comedy after meeting Mike Myers, and he would later cast him in the Austin Power sequels. The film is credited with reviving his career following a sex tape scandal that I had never heard about before I wrote this. So,
I don't know where I heard it, but I heard that somewhere, like recently somebody told me that he had a sex tape scandal. Am I saying that right? Am I pronouncing it correct?
Yeah, sounds good. In the previous episode where we reviewed Tommy Boy, we gave Tommy Boy a lot of credit for, showing his range as more than just, what he's known for, and letting him show off his comedy. But it's actually, the credit should go to Wayne's World, right?
And he is definitely a funny man.
Yeah, so good on him. Speaking of Tommy Boy, this is Chris Farley's big screen debut. So he has a cameo as the security guard at the Alice Cooper concert, and he would also reprise his role and appear in Wayne's World 2, but played a different character. So I guess he doesn't reprise his role, but he gets recast as another security guard. I was
going to say, I remember him being a security guard still.
Yeah. Which cameo do you think is funnier, the one in the original or the sequel?
Again, I remember that to me the sequel was always funnier.
Yeah, I think the sequel is funnier for him just because he gets pelted with the balls a bunch of times when they're firing those tennis balls at him, trying to set the mic back up. Mm-hmm. And it's just him laying there going, "Oh God, please!" And he's just screaming, rolling on the ground. That's pretty much it for interesting facts. We'll move into some critical response here. I think this one's going to be a tricky one for you, not to give anything away. But as we always do, I'll have you guess the critic response and the audience score based off of Rotten Tomatoes. So what do you think the critic response was for Wayne's World?
58.
Okay. Great. What about audience score?
69.
You would go with 69. Okay. Why do you think that those scores would be what you're guessing them? What are you basing that off of?
Well, in being that it was an SNL movie, being that it was the early 90s, being that it was Mike Myers, being that, Dana Carvey, I mean, to me, the way that it was a formulaic comedy keeps it above 50s to the critics, is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
But being that it wasn't in the wheelhouse for, it started off and kicked off that series of SNL movies, but it wasn't it wasn't the Will Ferrell movies. It wasn't the Tim Meadows movies. I'm not sure that people responded to the rock comedy the way that they may have had it come out a few years later.
Okay.
And that's my thought process, and I'm ready to get kicked.
So Wayne's World received mostly positive reviews and carried a certified fresh 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience score for the film carries an 84% fresh. And our old buddy Roger Ebert is back after taking a week off and said, "I walked into Wayne's World expecting a lot of dumb, vulgar comedy. And I got plenty. But I also found what I didn't expect, a genuinely amusing, sometimes even intelligent undercurrent, like the Bill and Ted movies. This one works on its extended level and sneaks into excursions on some other levels too." And he gave it 3 stars. Yeah, I mean, I guess this is how I wish more comedy movies were reviewed, is, understand that they're not going to win Academy Awards and don't take them from what they're more than what they are. But I think the rating should be about right where they're. I think it's well written and it's very funny.
I think partly as, a viewer of movies, you become, like you're saying, you become so jaded and beat down to how comedy is often received.
Right.
So I apologize. I disservice the critics and I disservice the fans. I let you guys down with lowballing. Damn.
Now, if you save those numbers, you'll be pretty accurate for the sequel. But I don't think you'll remember that a year from now.
Fingers crossed.
There we go. Now, box office numbers. Let's dive into that before we jump into the review here. So, Wayne's World debuted at the box office to 1,768 screens on February 14th, 1992. First week at the box office, they ranked number one and brought in a whopping $18.1 million in the first weekend. This movie would stay number one at the box office for 5 weeks straight. The 10-day total was $33.5 million, recouping all of the $20 million budget plus some. And they stayed in theater for 18 weeks, bringing in a total domestic gross of $118.3 million. Internationally, another $61.4 million. And the total worldwide gross was $183,097,323. Is that more than you expected? About what you thought, or less?
I gotta say that's about what I thought.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's impressive. $183 million on $20 million. I can see why. Right after this movie, they go on and greenlight almost every sketch that they can think of to try and turn into a movie.
That's the precedence that this movie created, and that's why I'm so it's to me it's a difficult movie to really slice and dice up because of what it did to create. We had Blues Brothers, like you mentioned earlier, but after this, the floodgates are open.
Yeah, and Blues Brothers was 12 years before this too, so it's not like it was on the heels of it. So I think they were just like, oh my gosh, well, these are going to be really popular. What's Sandler have? Let's put out Happy Gilmore. Let's do Billy Madison. Let's put Farley in something. Let's put Spade in something. Did they ever do anything with Hartman? Did he have his own comedy?
I don't know the answer to that, but we should probably fact check that.
Yeah, I can take a look at that.
Jingle All the Way. There we go.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
No, I'm being silly.
He is in that though, so
he is
definitely not an SNL movie, but that's solely based off of Schwarzenegger. Now, what was at the box office the week of February 14th? Number one, again, was Wayne's World. Number two, Medicine Man. Number three, Fried Green Tomatoes. Number four, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Boy, a lot of dramas here, huh? Number five, Final Analysis. Number six, The Great Mouse Detective. 7, Father of the Bride. 8, Shining Through. Number 9, Beauty and the Beast. And number 10, Grand Canyon. Or Grand Canyon. I don't know if that's a typo on the website, but I've never even heard of that movie. Man, Medicine Man and Fried Green Tomatoes are obviously really good drama movies, but not a lot of competition for Wayne's World as far as the comedy goes.
Well, it is Valentine's Day.
Yeah, true. What movie do you think would finally dethrone Wayne's World and drop them to number 2, which would have been week 6?
So that would put it at April of 92?
Let's see, 5 weeks would be a month and a half. So yeah, we're end of March, 92.
Oh my god. I've guessed it before and I'm going to guess it again. Dances with Wolves.
Basic Instinct. Michael Douglas and Sharon Stone.
So close.
Yeah, not far off. So that pretty much wraps up the beginning part here of the episode. We're going to be back on the other side, take a little bathroom break here, plug some social media, and we'll be back with the full review of Wayne's World. So sit tight, you filthy animals.
Wait a minute, what are you doing, Doc? I need fuel.
I want to thank you for clicking the download button on today's episode of Wayne's World and encourage you to go over to the iTunes app on your phone or the Apple Podcast app and hit the subscribe button. While you're there, leave us a 5-star review if you could type up a couple sentences about what you love about the show, that goes a long way in helping support us, and that's really the best way that you can support us. Another way you can do that is by going to our website, backintimepod.wordpress.com. You can click on the Amazon store button, and we've got links to Blu-rays, DVDs, shirts, hoodies, hats, action figures, a lot of the movies that we've reviewed so far on the show, and that will give us a little kickback from Amazon, and that also helps support us. So that's backintimepod.wordpress.com, and click on the Amazon store button. Now, back to the podcast. Let's talk some Wayne's World.
My good man, I'd like to have a look at this Fender Stratocaster, please.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Again?
Yes.
Excuse me, Wayne. Can I put the fender back now, please?
Not today, my good man. I'm feeling saucy. I think I'm gonna buy it. Do you accept cash? Cha-ching.
Alrighty, we are back from the bathroom break, and we're ready to jump into some Wayne's World. Justin, you ready?
Yeah, I'm glad that we took a few minutes to play some swords in the bathroom, but I'm definitely ready to hop into Aurora.
Well, as usual, I won. So, yeah, let's hop right into it and jump into it. So, Wayne's World begins, and we hear a voiceover commercial with Noah Vanderhoff, and he's talking about Noah's Arcade. We see Benjamin, played by Rob Lowe, sitting on the bed with his girlfriend. They're flipping through the channels. That was one of the commercials. Justin, first impression of Rob Lowe here, and what's your favorite Rob Lowe movie?
Damn, what a beautiful man. My goodness. Favorite Rob Lowe movie? I love him and Thank You for Smoking.
Okay. All right, that's a solid one. I don't know that I have like a favorite Rob Lowe movie, but yeah, I would have to agree. He's a good looking dude, coming from a straight man. Now, you of course are a different plane, but that's all right.
Yeah, I'm a fluffy bunny.
So they come across a cable access TV show, and we have our first glimpse of Mike Myers and Dana Carvey in their roles as Wayne Campbell and Garth Algar. What's your first impression here of Wayne and Garth?
Amazing Halloween costumes to be had.
I've always wanted to dress up as Wayne and dress up my 4-year-old as Garth and go trick or treating.
What are you waiting for?
I don't know. I should just do it. But he wants to go as a Transformer, not Garth Algar, apparently.
Definitely did not think you were going to say Transformer there.
So, yeah, I love that it just starts up with the extreme close-up. Whoa! The camera's going in and out. They have a guest that's on the show that week. His name is Ron Paxton, and he's the inventor of the suck cut. How would you best describe the suck cut?
Sucky.
And that's what Garth says here. Or, I'm sorry, that's what Wayne tells Garth as he sits down, and he tells him, this guy's going to put this thing on your melon here. And Garth tells him not to buzz him. And they start right up, and it's like a vacuum / trimmer would be the best way to describe it, you think?
It seems like something straight out of Tim and Eric.
Garth starts yelling, "Turn it off, man! It's sucking my will to live!" And
that's such a great line. we're minutes in, and I'm already laughing about how great the lines are.
Yeah. So we got a quick flash over to Benjamin, who's watching this on the bed. He picks up the phone and calls one of his partners and tells him to turn on Channel 5 and find out who these guys are. And then instead of watching it, because he's super interested, he cuts it off and he's going to start doing the hibbity-dibbity with his girlfriend.
Well, they still have a pizza in the bed, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
right?
interesting.
Is that pizza, or is that fried chicken? What's going on? It's like a Homer Simpson moment.
There's definitely some food in the bed. I don't know exactly where they're going with it, but maybe they like to incorporate some food into their lovemaking.
George Costanza.
After Benjamin hangs up the phone here, the suck cut finally stops, and Garth is still kind of riled up here, so Wayne gets him to calm down by telling him He's in a forest with Heather Locklear, and that gets him to apparently calm down. So I will now use that on you when you get too excited.
If it works for Darth Garth, it'll work for me.
And then we have the ending of this first scene with the Wayne's World song, which is iconic with this movie. So there's a walking monologue next here. Wayne is making direct eye contact with the camera, breaking the fourth wall. He's explaining that what he would really like is to do Wayne's World for a living. He's done all these crappy jobs, and he has a whole wall full of name tags, which is kind of funny. And then he looks at the camera and says, "It might happen. Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt." And the Murphmobile pulls up and he gets in. And this is probably my favorite scene in the movie. I don't know if you have a favorite. We'll get to that. But what did you think of this first scene here in the Murphmobile with Bohemian Rhapsody playing?
God, this was like a defining scene as like we were kids, wasn't it? It was like a big deal. And I kind of wish that my parents had a car with a cassette player in it, but not everybody gets to get Jordans for Christmas.
You guys didn't even have a cassette player? What were you driving? A boat?
Hey man, boats have feelings too.
So yeah, I mean, this scene is so great. They come across Phil. He's partied out on a bench, according to Wayne. Wayne gives...
I've always wanted to know, what exactly is partied out?
Apparently drunk.
Okay, because that's how I always took it. And
Okay.
I've been partied out as recently as this weekend.
I like that terminology. I think I'm going to start using it again.
It's much better than drunk.
It's a really softer way of just telling somebody you're wasted. You're partied out, man. I like it.
Just partied out. Just a little too much partying.
Before they get into the car, Wayne gives Garth a no honk guarantee. So, for those of you that don't know what a honk is, that's apparently throwing up. Garth says, "If you're gonna spew into this." And he hands him a tiny cup. I love that Garth just has a little cup in his pocket that he apparently throws up into. How funny is that?
And it's so great too because, and then he's really satisfied when Phil doesn't take it. It's
I
Phil,
know.
right?
Yeah, Phil.
Okay. Like Phil, he's really satisfied when Phil doesn't take it. He makes this little face like, damn right, I still get to keep my cup.
And he folds it back up and puts it in his pocket. So in this next part here, they're headbanging to the Bohemian Rhapsody song. Mike Myers looks to just be in excruciating pain. I know in interviews since the film has ended, he's talked about how painful it was to sit there and headbang for seemingly the entire night. Dana Carvey has said the same thing. Even as recent as a interview with the entire cast and director and Lorne Michaels, they brought it up again. And Mike Myers said he still has neck pains from that day. But if you look at his face and you realize he's smiling, but he's not really smiling, that it's really funny to watch him do it.
It's if he was maybe a little bit partied out, maybe he would have been more into it.
I agree. Maybe you should have gotten wasted and then filmed the scene. Would have been much easier.
It worked for Pizza Parlor Massacre.
That's true. They stop at the guitar store next. Garth says he does this every week and yells out to Wayne to live in the now. It'll never happen. And Wayne says, "Oh yes, it will. It will be mine." So has this obsession with this awesome, I think it's a Stratocaster Fender guitar, if I'm not mistaken. I'll get
Sounds
another
right.
peek at it later. I believe it's in the notes here, but that's an awesome guitar. And for anybody that's really into music, that would be like the holy grail to get your hands on one of those things in the 1990s.
So what you're saying is it's like getting a pair of Jordans for Christmas.
Yes, very similar to that. Although the Jordans would be more expensive.
Son of a bitch.
I'm kidding. Guitars are thousands of dollars. So they pull up to a donut shop next. This is a fictional restaurant, so don't go running off to Aurora looking to find Stan Mikito's Donuts. It doesn't exist. This is a fictional restaurant based off of a famous Chicago Blackhawks player named Stan Mikita, who Myers was a fan of. He was a famous Canadian player who played for the Chicago team. the scene was filmed at a Tim Hortons donut shop, which is a real-life donut chain, or donut shop chain.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, being that this was the 25th anniversary, I do think that the town of Aurora, Illinois, did have a Stan Mikita pop-up.
Yes, I think I heard that as well, which would be really cool to go to.
Yes, and considering I used to live 5 minutes from there, I kind of am ruining that I missed the opportunity.
Hey, if that's the case, let me ask you about this. Do they still have the stacked cars?
Did that? I don't know.
Okay.
And Aurora, little known fact, Aurora is actually the second biggest city in Illinois.
Oh, that is interesting. I know that they obviously didn't film in Aurora. They were someplace else when they filmed, I believe in L.A., but they did go and take secondary unit shots in Aurora, and that stockpile of cars that's high up in the sky, that is a real thing. So I don't know if it's still there today, but maybe you can tweet at us and let us know. At Back in Time Pod. So they get stopped outside the shop by a cop. This is a cool little scene between them. They make the oink oink joke. The cop kind of plays along and tells them about how he pulled over a rock band. Kind of funny. They move inside. Excuse me. They move inside next, and we get our look at Glenn, the manager. He's played by Ed O'Neill. What's your favorite Ed O'Neill movie or show?
Obviously, it's Little Giants.
Really? Over Married with Children? That surprises me a little bit.
I'm sorry, have you not seen Little Giants? Little known fact, actually, it's extremely difficult to find Little Giants on DVD, its original run, and it's actually very valuable.
That's interesting, because I've literally looked for that movie for a long time at that secondhand shop that I go to all the time.
You can be looking to spend over $100 on that DVD.
Is that for real? You messing with me?
No, I'm dead serious.
Wow. I wonder why they haven't have they never done like a second print?
Last I checked, but this was like 5 years ago.
Wow. You would think at some point Disney would re-release on like Blu-ray and get like some, commentary from some of the kids who I'm sure are doing nothing that would be available. Not to make it sound like their lives are worthless, but I mean, I'm sure they have some time they could record some DVD commentary tracks.
Well, wasn't Spike on Dancing with the Stars or something like that?
I don't know. I love Spike, though. But anyway, we'll get back to Glenn, the manager here. He grabs the camera for a minute and kind of motions for them to come with him to the other side of the bar. And he starts telling a story about how he had never done a bad thing that night. And Wayne interrupts and tells him that only Garth and him can talk to the camera, and they move away from Glenn. But just the way that he mad dogs the camera the whole time that Wayne is talking, just that entire scene just cracks me up. So they sit down at the table, they order something to drink. Do you remember what they order here?
Wasn't it coffee?
Yeah, but do you remember what exactly they order?
Oh, like a dozen crullers and some coffee.
Yeah, 4 coffees, 12 coolers, and 1 jelly donut.
Which is going to get massacred.
So Wayne says, Garth, look, it's your girlfriend. Yeah. And Garth stares at her for a moment, and she's a hot chick, I will say that. But I just love this part because he stares at her, and then he shakes, and then he just shoots off of his chair like a rocket. And then just stands up and real quietly goes, oops, I fell. And just sits back down on the table like nothing happened. There's so many good Garth lines here. Wayne is approached by his ex-girlfriend next, and she's brought him a present. So in your life, Justin, have you ever had a crazy girlfriend that would buy you random gifts?
Aren't they all crazy?
That may be very true. My wife doesn't listen to this podcast, so I can get away with that.
It's just sneak one past the goalie there. I will tell you this story. I did have a girlfriend in high school who told me that she baked me cookies and gave them to me, but they were very obviously store-bought. They were Chips Ahoy.
Interesting.
Does that count?
Is that the worst gift that you think you ever got?
I can't imagine it gets much worse than that.
Worse than Joe's apartment?
Well, it was from my mom.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Can't count that one. I can't remember any like terrible gifts, but yeah, apparently this is a real story from Mike Myers that had a girlfriend break up with him and buy him a gun rack. So he put it in the movie, later called and tried to apologize to her for putting their story in an actual movie. So anyway, it's a funny scene here. So one of the things I noticed, I don't know if you picked up on this, but the girlfriend is wearing a gold necklace that has his name on it. Did you ever see that?
Oh, I did notice that. I noticed it like right at the end of the scene last night, and I had never seen it before, but it just sort of caught my eye right there at the end that it definitely says Wayne.
Such a nice touch. So they leave the donut shop and they head to the local club. I believe it's called Gasworks, if I'm remembering right. The bouncer at the door here is rock legend Meatloaf. And he tells Wayne, Wayne asks him what bands are playing tonight. And the first band he names is the Shitty Beatles. And Wayne wants to know if they're any good. And he says, no, they suck. And Wayne says, well, good. Then it's not just a clever name then. And they all laugh. And then he tells them that Crucial Taunt is playing right now. They're finishing up. Garth says, I hear they can really wail. So we go inside and we've got Let Me Stand Next to Your Fire playing. And it's Tia Carey. Now, this is something we talked about in Interesting Facts. So if you're watching the movie along with this or later in the evening, that is actually Tia Carey that is singing the song. So very impressed with that. So Garth is blocked by a large man who turns around and tells him, hold on one second. All right, so Garth walks up to a large guy trying to get by him. He taps him on the shoulder, and the guy turns around and says, what do you want, you little dweeb? And Garth tells him he would like him to please move. And he picks him up and throws Garth. And Garth stands up, and the next scene is him outside in the Murphmobile, and he's hooking up a belt of some sort that he's going to take back inside. He taps him on the shoulder again. Again, the large man turns around and calls him a little dweeb again. With Garth takes a electric shocker to him, and he flies backward about 10 feet. And Garth swivels it back into his belt. What do you think of Garth in action here? Pretty nice little scene.
Garth just murdered a man. That guy is dead. I'm not even going to make the comparisons to him going out to the car in a town called Aurora. But man alive, that just had like school shooter written all over it.
Yeah, that's an
Did you
interesting
think about
comparison.
that? Like it's really an effed up scene.
Yeah, it I would say, yeah, I would agree with that. The one thing I kind of thought about with this scene is Garth reminds me of like a rock teenage version of Data from the Goonies.
Not from Star Trek.
No. So we go back inside here, and Wayne is having a Dreamweaver sequence here as he's staring at the lead singer, and he stops and says, "Swing, yada yada, she's a babe." Do you agree with Wayne here? Is Cassandra a babe?
And I don't know that either of us should really comment on that.
Why not?
Well, if your swing gets schwang.
Schwang.
I thought is this a PG or PG-13 podcast?
Definitely 13.
Oh, schwang.
So Cassandra exits the stage, and a fight breaks out here. They spill a drink on her. She proceeds to kick the crap out of these two guys with a bunch of leg kicks. I don't know if she comes from a karate background. Maybe we'll find out in the sequel. Who knows? She walks over to the bar. Wayne compliments her and says, "Rough night. Everyone was kung fu fighting." How awkward is this scene here with Wayne trying to pick her up?
It's kind of unfortunate because his joke is funny.
Yes.
And the fact that the fight doesn't involve her, and yet she just kicks the crap out of them. It makes no sense, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, Wayne wants to try and ask her out, and she hands him a flyer and tells him if he has $5, he can meet her at this club next week. So, denied on the date. Garth says the bass player was a babe. She makes me feel kind of funny, like when we used to climb the rope in gym class. Garth is so hilarious here. Do you ever have a moment where climbing the rope made you feel funny in gym?
You know, I'm just going to go ahead and say, Kyle, I was the fat kid in school that couldn't make it up the rope.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
So the only funny feeling that I got is when everybody laughed at me.
I didn't feel too bad. There's always like 4 or 5 other fat kids that couldn't climb. But yeah, it was always a little awkward when you'd see them just go straight up the rope, and then you would dangle there for 4 seconds and then fall on the ground. So, not cool. Not cool at all. They're back in the Murph-mobile next. They pull up next to a car. Wayne motions for the guy to roll down his window. It's an old gray-haired man, and Wayne wants to know if he has any Great Poupon. How many times over the years do you think you've tried this joke?
I want to say it's at least 26 times, and as recently as like a month and a half ago.
Has anybody ever laughed?
No, never once.
Yeah, nobody ever seems to get it. We go into the office building next. Benjamin is pitching Wayne's World to the owner of Noah's Arcade. Noah is played by Brian Doyle Murray. We also have Benjamin's producer Russell there, played by Kurt Fuller. Can you remember the other movie that has Brian Doyle Murray and Kurt Fuller in the same scene?
Is it Christmas Vacation?
Close.
Damn it.
It's around that same time period. And who you going to call?
The Griswolds. Christmas Vacation. I told you that's what it was.
Oh, dude, I just gave you the biggest clue. Who you going to call? Ghostbusters.
Big Bad Beetleborgs?
No, it's the scene from Ghostbusters 2 where his character tells Brian Doyle Murray that the mayor wants them locked up and they put him in the nut house. Anyway.
I got to admit, I'm looking forward to reviewing Ghostbusters 2 because while it is my favorite in the Ghostbusters franchise, I've seen it less recently.
Oh, that's interesting. It's also my favorite too. I think it's because it's the only one that we would have actually saw in the movie theater.
Vigo the Carpathian.
Yeah, can't wait for that episode. Noah says he doesn't get it after being shown a scene from the show. Benjamin argues that this is your target audience. They're the same kids that show up every week at the arcade. He sells Russell as a high-end producer who's had a bunch of hit shows. Noah says he's never heard of them. And Russell gets offended and says they've won many awards. Russell explains that the kids are real and they can spot a fake. Noah says kids don't know dick. And talks about how he just wants them to keep pumping in the quarters into the machines and they won't know a difference. How does Noah come off in this scene to you?
Like a dick?
Yeah.
No, but I'll tell you what, I legitimately feel bad for him because he makes the comment, kids don't know any better, they're just going to keep pumping away quarters. But little did he know that the arcade scene would crash dramatically. And us kids would stop pumping in the quarters.
Yeah. And
so
we'd spend money to buy our own system and just sit at home and play games. I will say, though, there's still some pretty cool arcades around my area, but they're all geared toward younger kids. But I'll still go in there and pump in the quarters.
Have you gone to any of the new ones, like the bar arcades, the barcades, I think they're called?
Yeah, I've been to the one in Chicago, the Emporium. That one's really neat. They actually just, about a month ago, did a Stranger Things themed store where they turned it into the living room with all the lights and stuff.
That's awesome.
So, which we got to talk about that show in the next episode. So, but we'll get back to what we're talking about here. So, I love how Benjamin and Russell just kind of twist Noah's words here, and they make him feel like it's his idea to do a weekly spot on Wayne's World. And Benjamin says he'll send him over the contract right away and they'll get started. And Noah stands up almost a little confused at what's going on. and says he'd like to review it. Benjamin says he wouldn't have it any other way. And he sweeps him out the door and turns back to Russell and says he's in. So, this is a good move here by Benjamin and Russell and twisting Noah's words here. What'd you think of that scene?
Great salesmanship. I mean, it reminds me so much of Rob Lowe's scenes in Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Where he's and so many times just sells it with a smile, and all he does is just smile and gets whatever he wants, whenever he wants from whomever he wants it from.
So we're in the mechanic shop next. Wayne is learning Cantonese on his headphones. Garth wants to know if he's going to marry this girl. And Wayne says something along the lines, in other countries, being married is a offense and punishable by law. Any thoughts on that?
I assume he's talking about the Orient, and we're allowed to say the Orient because Rob Lowe later in the film refers to Asia as the Orient. So that makes it okay. But I assume he's telling the truth. Why would I think he's lying? He's from Canada.
That's true. Hey, in this scene here, is the mechanic, is that Phil, the partied out guy from earlier? It's hard to tell.
I think it is. I'm 88.3% sure that it is.
Okay, that's a solid percentage. B+. So, yeah, the mechanic comes out. We assume it's Phil. And he tells him that the car has passed inspection, but they owe $42. So they start to empty out their pockets here. They're just laying down $1 at a time. And Phil keeps going, nope, need more. And Wayne is just beside himself that they're charging this much money to work on the car. Finally, do you remember what he hands him when he goes, all right, we're cool? Is it like a pack of gum? I don't know what he hands him.
I don't know. I was trying to pay attention to that very scene when I was watching the movie, and I couldn't make out what it is that he hands. I mean, maybe I need new contacts. I don't know. We'll assume it's a pack of zebra stripes.
Okay, that'll work for me. I love those zebra stripes. Right before they leave, Garth grabs one of the tire guns and accidentally scrapes it across an entire car, and then looks at Wayne, and they take off before anybody notices. But I love that Garth is always seemingly doing something in the background. He stays busy. We go into this next scene here. Benjamin and Russell are trying to track down the address of Wayne, so they stop at the local TV station and ask questions. They pull up into the house next, and we go inside. They're filming an episode in the basement. I know you're going to love this scene. I can't wait to talk about it. They pull out a photo of Claudia Schiffer. Swing 10 pole.
10 pole.
She's magically babelicious. And apparently she tested very high on the strokeability chart.
Yeah,
so,
I can't believe they got away with that joke. That seemed a little risque to me.
Yeah, and Garth is holding up the photo, and he looks at Wayne and says, "Are you done yet? Because I'm getting tired of holding this." Yeah, that's what she said. So, all these years, I thought that line was a Michael Scott creation, but the honor goes to Wayne Campbell. So, does this make you think any less of Michael Scott?
I think it makes me think more of Michael Scott, because assuming that he is saying that's what she said because of Wayne's World, the fact that he would do it over and over and over again.
Yeah, I haven't gone back and watched like all the episodes from Saturday Night Live where they're doing this character. But if that's something that they've done in the TV show, and knowing that he's a huge improv comedy guy, I have to assume that there's some type of correlation there.
That's a great joke.
Oh, it's always a solid joke. They finish up the show here. Benjamin and Russell meet the guys for the first time. Benjamin wants to take him out for dinner and leaves Russell behind to get to know the crew. Initially, Garth thinks that they're getting canceled, and Benjamin explains that his client Noah Vanderhoff came into his office and wanted to know about this show, Wayne's World, that everybody keeps talking about. Garth gets a giant drink delivered to the table in between here. We'll come back to the drink. Benjamin explains that he has 2 cashier's checks for $5,000 each. Now he knows that he may be wasting his time here because they're artists. So just give him his word here and he'll tear the checks right up. And Garth starts choking on a cherry and has to spit it out into his drink. So clearly, even though they kind of come off as guys that wouldn't care about the money, they definitely want those $5,000 checks here.
At the end of the day, they still owe their parents rent money.
That's true. Wayne says, "Excuse me, baking powder? Did you just say you're going to pay us for doing Wayne's World?" And then he gets the contract. He starts to peruse it here. I love that he stops at certain parts of the contract and just goes, "Oh, I like what you've done here. Yes. Ooh, not so sure about... Okay, yes, we can do that." So Garth goes under the table, motions to the camera, says, "What's up with this guy? Why does he have all these contracts?" It's like an episode of The Twilight Zone where the guy signs a contract and they cut off his tongue and put it in a jar, but it wouldn't die. It just grew and pulsated and gave birth to baby tongues. Garth just goes back to the top of the table, and Wayne thinks they can work with each other on this project. But any thoughts here on the Twilight Zone reference?
Yeah, I definitely don't think that's an episode of The Twilight Zone. I'm going through my Twilight knowledge of zones, and I'm not recalling that one. Shout out to anyone that can out-Twilight Zone me, and let's talk.
Absolutely. So in this next scene here, we got $5,000, got $5,000, and they're dancing into the club. They're clearly very excited about the $10,000 they're going to make on the show. Russell tries to high-five one of the guys from the crew, but they just look at him, which made me laugh because he's totally out of place at that club. Cassandra's band, Crucial Taunt, is playing again. Wayne has another Dreamweaver sequence here with Cassandra in it. And Benjamin is staring up at Cassandra, and she looks back and smiles at him. So I think Benjamin might be trying to move in here on Wayne Campbell.
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard that wrong. The way it struck my head is that you were saying he's trying to move in on Wayne Campbell, not move in on. And I was like, I didn't pick up any gay vibes between Rob Lowe and Wayne Campbell.
Definitely no gay vibes. The band finishes up here. Cassandra goes over to grab a drink, and Benjamin tries to recruit Cassandra to be a musical act for Wayne's World. I love this scene here where Wayne is floating across the floor to Cassandra, and then the ex-girlfriend approaches and he just cringes at her but keeps going. And he's just in the zone, just trying to get over the Cassandra. Anything you want to comment on that? Go ahead.
Does it not remind you of the scene from the movie, Chris Rock's movie Head of State?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I'm assuming, Chris Rock being a Sunday morning brunch alum, the same as Mike Myers, I'm assuming he is quite fond of his,
yeah,
co-person success. Can we assume that there's a little connection between the two movies?
I would have to assume so. So we go over to the bathroom line next, and Garth is waiting in line. He goes over and knocks on the door, wants to know how much longer the guy's going to be. He gets approached by Wayne's ex-girlfriend, and she wants to know what she should do about Wayne, and he says to move on, get over it, and get with somebody else. And she says, good idea, and just turns around and grabs the first random guy. She's a little nuts. So I don't know who this actress is. I'm going to look her up. But any thoughts on this lady?
She's from Twin Peaks.
Oh, nice.
And she's not as nutso in that crazy ass show as she is in this movie, though.
No, definitely not. No, we're going to talk more about her in a little bit here. So we go on to the rooftop next with Wayne and Cassandra. He tells her that her band is really good, and if they ever got a break, they could really make it. This might be my favorite Cassandra line here. She says, yeah, if a frog had wings, he wouldn't bump his ass every time he hopped.
And then Wayne pausing to try to think, is this some mystic Orient, prophecy?
Yeah, it's true, though. If he did have wings, he wouldn't hop on his ass. So she makes a good point. Wayne wants to know where she learned English, and she says college and from watching Police Academy. I would say that's a good mix.
Well, is that true? I wonder, is that where she learned English?
No, the truth is she actually had to learn Cantonese for the movie, and Mike Myers is the one that knew how to speak Cantonese.
That is very interesting.
That's very strange, right? You would have definitely assumed the opposite.
Well, I could only assume then she learned Cantonese from watching Police Academy, but being dubbed over out of the English language.
Nice. That has to be an option. Good call. So he says he wants to tell her something really important, and then he pauses and say, "Ding dong." Cassandra is super impressed and says, "Wow, Campbell, it's amazing. You learned how to say I look pretty in Cantonese." And they continue to talk back and forth. I don't care to continue to go, "Hang along, hang along." And no offense to anybody that speaks that language, but that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, dude, that was super offensive.
Yeah, my bad. Anyway, Wayne...
Well played.
I was hoping you weren't going to catch that.
That was good. Apologize to them, too.
Nope, going to just continue. Wayne's ex enters into the scene here, and she's got a new guy next to her. She sits right behind them, and Wayne looks over at her and is just super annoyed that she's there. But he does say hello because he's a friendly Canadian. That's what they do. Cassandra laughs and tells Wayne he makes her laugh. Wayne asks if he can call her sometime, and she says anytime. So he's now gone from striking out on asking her out for a date to he can call anytime he wants. Good on Wayne Campbell here, right?
Yeah, I mean, considering that he never changes his clothes once throughout this entire movie, I mean, guy's got game.
Yeah. So he looks at the camera and says, "Zang," which apparently means excellent. The ex... Well, I'm sorry, did you say something? Did you snap your fingers?
How annoyed were our teachers?
Oh, they have to be. This is super annoying. Oh, man. Okay, so the ex is trying to make out, and she looks over at Wayne at the same time, and they stumble backwards and fall through the painted glass roof. So this won't be the last time that she falls on her face trying to stare at Wayne, but so this probably won't be the last time that she falls in this movie here, but what'd you think of this one?
She takes the fall like a champ, and she's really not even like hurt. She's like totally okay with it. She just dusts her shoulders off, and she's ready to go back to party. She is not yet partied out.
That's true. She's not partied out yet. We've got Wayne and Garth laying on top of the Murphmobile next. They're by a landing strip at the airport. They're talking about how much of a babe Cassandra is. They brought this up several times throughout the movie, so apparently if we say it enough, she is. But I would agree. She's good looking. They stop talking for a minute, and Garth gets real quiet and then says, "Hey, did you ever find Bugs Bunny attractive when he would put on a dress and play the girl bunny?" And Wayne just starts laughing hysterically. And then in between his laugh, he would go, "No." No.
Is that line improvised?
Yes. This is totally improvised. And apparently Mike Myers said that that's his real laugh right there, where he like that high-pitched cackle that he was doing.
It seems like it's like so like his reaction is just so funny. And the question makes very little sense. Garth he's an odd little bunny.
No, but that's the creative genius of Dana Carvey to be laying there. It's apparently like the last shot of the movie too, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. If not, tweet me your hate. And they were waiting. They actually had a limo waiting to pick them up to take them to SNL. So Lorne Michaels had sent for them, and this is the last thing they filmed that day. And because he laughed so hard, they decided to keep it in there. Even though it wasn't like part of the script and it was just them just being goofs. Yeah, so it's a cool moment. The plane flies overhead. So back in the studio, Russell is explaining that it will be Carrie's job to give the actors their hand cues. Wayne says, "Excuse me, Russell, I believe I requested the hand job." And they go on to proceed to work on their 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown with the silent 2 and 1 hand cue. What do you think of that scene? It's such a funny line by Wayne.
It almost feels like it's another excellent line. Like, it's just so, like, perfectly just stuck in there. Just, I requested the hand job. I could just picture Mike Myers just, like, sitting there waiting to be able to say it. He's always wanted to say it, and then he finally gets to say it.
Garth asked everyone if it seems weird that this looks like Wayne's basement, but it isn't Wayne's basement. And he's looking ahead on top of the studio from the control room. Benjamin talks to Noah and his wife in the office. Noah mentions how his wife is creative. She came up with the name Noah Arcade. And she said, I just opened my mouth and out it came. Please jump in with her. That's what she said.
That's what well, you can't cut me off. You can't circumcise me in the middle of a sentence.
That's awesome. So Benjamin tells him he's a lucky man. And next we're down in the studio. And Wayne and Garth are in front of a green screen. They're about to do a montage here. Noah watches from up top and says to Benjamin, so kids seem to get this, huh? Why do you think Noah doesn't quite understand Wayne and Garth?
Well, if kids get Wayne's World, then adults certainly don't. It's like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Can adults see the difference? No, they can't. They don't stand a chance.
Yeah. So Noah is going to come down and do a quick little interview here. And he explains how he got into the arcade business. His wife looks at a camera and says, that thing is huge. And the camera guy just says, I know, as he's holding it. Inferring, of course, that the camera is his dick, I assume. So anyway, Benjamin starts to plant the seed of Noah being on the show. Noah does a rap, and he wants to know what Wayne thinks about it. And he just responds with a sphincter says what? And Noah doesn't understand any of that and just walks off the set. So again, I love that Brian Doyle Murray just plays this role to a T. He's like the buffoon, the idiot. Any notes on Brian here?
It makes for a unique, because he is a buffoon, but it's kind of interesting because he kicks ass as a businessman. He's got Noah's Arcade. He's, they refer to how much money he has at one point, and it's a lot of shekels. It's more than $5,000.
Oh, definitely. He definitely got $5,000 times a lot.
At least double.
So in this next scene, we got car, game on! And Wayne and Garth are out in the, I assume what is it, just the middle of their road, playing some street hockey here. They're decked out in Blackhawks jersey. I love that they have them personalized too, and they both have their own last names on the back of the jerseys. It's a nice little touch. They see Stacy coming up, and Garth says, uh-oh, 10 o'clock. And she goes by on her bicycle. She already has a neck brace on, but she can't stop from making eye contact with Wayne and runs into a parked car and flips over it. What do you think of this scene here with Stacy?
Well, I love that she didn't have a neck brace on after she fell through the ceiling in the last scene. Like, she sits up and she's totally okay. Like, she's not partied out yet.
Right.
But in this scene, she magically has the neck brace on.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, it was a pretty good little fall she took. Might have been some next day stuff going on.
Well, there's no way of knowing, but it's definitely no better now after that little car oopsie daisy.
That's true. So Garth is working on this robotic hand next. He's in the on the set of the show. Benjamin approaches. Garth gets super uncomfortable. He stares at the hand a few times while Benjamin's talking, and the hand starts to move a little bit, so Garth immediately grabs a hammer and nails it several times until it starts moving. In later years, we found out this was another Terminator 2 reference, where Garth is building a T-1000 to kill Benjamin. What do you think of this scene?
When you say it out loud like that, it makes it so much more funny.
Yeah, and apparently this was a Lorne Michaels idea, and Mike Myers thought it would be stupid and nobody would laugh or get the reference. But Lorne Michaels said people will love this scene once they find out what it's about.
So how smart is Garth? Because we've got the scene earlier where he puts on the little electric taser gun and, blasts the dweeb. He's kind of like a little gadget master, isn't he?
Yeah. He really is, and we're going to have some more of that later in the movie here. Wayne is driving the car next with Cassandra. This was an interesting fact, I believe. If not, I might be putting this out for the first time, but Mike Myers had to go through driver's ed during the making of the film because he had never actually driven a car. So if you watch closely, he has perfect 10 and 2 hand positioning here.
No, he just turned 16.
Except he was 30 years old when they made this. I thought that was interesting to find that out. They're in the music store next. Wayne wants to find the clerk, so he uses the "May I help you" riff, and that immediately brings the clerk over, who says, "May I help you?" which I loved. Wayne wants to see the Fender Stratocaster again. He starts to play a note, and the clerk stops him and points to the sign that says "No Stairway to Heaven." Stairway denied. So
the stairway was out. You have to take the escalator. Elevator to heaven? That doesn't have the same impact.
No, not quite. So we're going to see Garth rock out on the drums next. It should be noted that this is actually Dana Carvey who's playing the drums here. I have to say, for somebody that's not a professional musician, I was pretty impressed with his drum playing. What'd you think?
I think he's got a secret second career.
Yeah, for sure. He could play for my band and make no money.
Or play for my non-existent band and have no songs to play.
Is that Rock Band? The video game?
How'd you know?
There you go.
We only play the version on Wii for the shitty Beatles.
Oh, okay. Are they any good?
No, they're shitty.
Yeah, not just a clever name then. I like that. Wayne continues to play his Strat here, and the clerk wants to know if he can put it back yet, because Wayne does this every week, apparently. He says, "Not today, my friend. Do you accept cash?" and pulls out 2 handfuls full of money. So Wayne's going to get himself a little present here. Not a bad gift to yourself, too. I'd love to have that guitar. We're back in the studio next. Russell and Benjamin are talking. Benjamin is explaining that he will just have to tell Wayne that Noah being on the show is in his contract. Russell says, "Well, I'm sure Wayne will understand that right away." Not. And he looks at Benjamin. I love the part that he looks at Benjamin and then apologizes. And that this lingo from the guys is rubbing off on Russell.
He can't help it. It's infectious. I know you've been saying it since you've watched the movie, probably professionally.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have my favorite scene next. Now this is going to be a mouthful.
That's what she said.
Dang it. Got me again.
That's what she said.
So here we go. So the movie begins with some blatant product placement. Benjamin says, "We need to have a talk." And the fact is, Noah is a sponsor of the show. Wayne says, "That's where I see things a little differently. Contract or not, I will not bow to any sponsors." And he lifts up a box of pizza with the giant Pizza Hut logo and pulls out a slice. Benjamin says he's sorry, but it's the nature of the beast. Wayne responds, "I could be wrong on this one, but the beast doesn't include selling out." And he holds up a bag of Doritos and takes a bite out of that. "Garth, you know what I'm talking about?" The camera pans over to Garth. He's got his feet up on the table with Reeboks on. It pans up to him. He's wearing a Reebok jacket, Reebok shirt, Reebok hat, Reebok sweatband on his head. He says, it's like people only do things for money, man. It's really sad." What did you think of this scene here where they just go back and forth?
I really hope that those were actually all product placement sponsors that pay directly to have themselves spoofed.
Yes.
And then the movie is totally just budgeted for based on that product placement alone.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and it ends with Garth giving Wayne a bottle of aspirin because he says he has a headache, and Benjamin saying, "Look, you can either stay here in the big leagues and play by the rules or go back to the farm club in Aurora." Wayne says, "Yes, well, it's the choice of a new generation," and takes a drink of his Pepsi.
And that ended so perfectly.
Yeah. So we're back in the donut shop here. Garth joins Cassandra and Wayne at the table. Garth again sees his dream girl and again shoots off the back of the seat into the wall, stands up and just says, "Oops, I slipped." And Cassandra says, "Why don't you just go talk to her?" And we have Garth in another dream sequence here with the background music of Foxy Lady by the great Jimi Hendrix. What do you think of this scene?
Pretty bold. You get really excited for Garth.
Yes.
You know, you think he can do it. You've got all of this faith in him. He's got something burning deep inside of him that you're just waiting to come out. You're yearning to see just what Garth has inside of him.
That's what she said.
I kind of stood that one for you.
What I like the most about this scene is to the guitar beat where it was dun dun dun. Every time it does that, Garth humps the air. Did you catch that part?
You like humping. This isn't new.
That's literally how I dance at every wedding. It's amazing. Now, Wayne and Cassandra are laying on the bed next. Wayne is doing the camera 1, camera 2 thing with his eyes. He's still in the black shirt, but this is the first time that he's not wearing a hat, and he's wearing some whitey-tighties here. Let's be honest here, JD. Are you a whitey-tighty guy or briefs?
Whitey-tighty or briefs?
Yep.
Do I not get an option for boxers?
Yeah, you can go boxer briefs. Kind of same thing, right?
Well, I do the boxers.
There you go.
Thank you.
I'm a tighty whitey guy. Kind of weird, huh?
I don't know how I never knew that about you.
Yeah. Cassandra gets a phone call. Wayne proceeds to do some goofy stuff in the background. He puts on her bra. He's doing a belly dance. I could have done without seeing his pasty white ass, but I thought the scene was pretty funny.
Yeah, those whitey tighties of him are definitely tight. They're chugging all the way up into that little brown hole of his.
Good God.
Am I allowed to say that? Is that good? No good?
Yeah. We'll let it slide. The part that made me laugh the most is when he jumps on top and on the bottom the subtitle says gratuitous sex scene, and he just turns to the camera and says, "Excellent."
Yeah, he's very happy for that.
Yeah, he's super pumped. In the next scene, Wayne, Garth, and Cassandra are in Benjamin's apartment. Garth is super nervous the whole time again. He pulls the camera into him and says, "Hi, if I had a girl like Cassandra, I would never bring her to a place like this." And he goes to check out the rest of the apartment. He finds a book that says How to Pick Up Chicks. There's another one too as well. He finds a diary, and written in there it says, "Thursday, buy a feeble public access show and exploit it." And he looks at the camera and says, "Man, I feel sorry for whoever that is." So we just credited Garth at being maybe way smarter than we think he is. But then he totally doesn't pick up on this. What do you think of that?
Well, okay, so I'm confused as to the purpose of just how meta the scene is. Do you think it actually says that? Or do you think that Garth is just so smart that he's playing a joke that it says that? Because is Rob Lowe that stupid that he would put that in his day planner?
I don't know.
You see, there are so many different levels of complexity here.
I think we might be grasping for straws there. I just think they're both morons.
Can't argue with that. We'll stick with that. That's a plot point.
So Wayne and Garth are going to get some backstage passes from Benjamin here to go see Alice Cooper. Benjamin orders some Chinese takeout. Wayne says he'll take some cream of some young guy, which Benjamin doesn't laugh at all, but Garth does, which made me laugh. Benjamin tries to get Cassandra the order, but she tells him to go ahead, and he places the order in Cantonese, which really impresses Cassandra and makes Wayne say, "This guy's good. This guy's really good." So do you think at this point Benjamin's trying to move in on Cassandra?
Oh, yeah. He's moving in. He's putting his shirts in the dresser. He's putting his contact lenses on the nightstand. He's moving in. He is good.
Cassandra is rehearsing with her band in the next scene. She's singing, "Why You Want to Break My Heart." Benjamin wants to know if she has a minute to talk. He drops off a contract for her music video and says, "Maybe when you're done here, we can spend the rest of the day together," since Garth and Wayne are going to be at the concert. So I think you're right. I think he's ready to post his flag, if you know what I mean.
I don't. Can you explain that a little bit?
No, it's birds and bees talk. I don't want to scar you.
Burns and...
Meanwhile, Wayne and Garth are driving to the concert. Wayne points out the Schatz Brewery Bottle Company as they're driving, and they do a montage remake of the beginning of Laverne and Shirley TV show. Did you recognize which show this was from, or was this too far ahead for you?
Oh, this was way out of my league. I had obviously assumed it was something.
Yeah.
It was clearly spoofing some random old thing of which I knew not.
The only reason I knew it is my mom used to watch this show. And I remember the beginning.
This originally.
What's that? Sorry?
You picked up on this originally.
I did, yeah. Yep. I probably even recognized it like in the 90s when I watched it for the first time, just because, like I said, that was something my mom watched when I was growing up. So I was like, oh, it's Laverne and Shirley. So anyway, Garth kind of stops mid-song while they're sitting there at the bottling place and says, wait a minute, we have backstage passes to Alice Cooper. And then the very next scene is Alice Cooper, and he's singing Feed My Frankenstein. So have you ever been like an Alice Cooper fan, or are you an Alice Cooper fan?
I re-evaluated that as I was watching this movie because I'm familiar with Alice Cooper. I've heard probably about 34% of his songs, at least once.
Seems random, but yeah, continue.
And so I was thinking about it, and as I was listening to sing the song, I was like, I actually do like Alice Cooper. Like, I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, I do like the song, but if I'm being honest, this is the only song that I know, and it's purely from the movie. I could not name another Alice Cooper song if you started playing them.
Stairway to Heaven.
That's not Alice Cooper.
Tears to Heaven. Tears for Fears.
So Wayne and Garth head backstage here. They accidentally go outside and they run into a security guard, and we have our film debut of Chris Farley here. What did you think of the debut of Chris Farley here? It's a pretty quick scene.
He seems nervous.
Yeah.
Did you think that too? I mean, I'm definitely watching it. It's like he seems nervous, which is sad considering, how his life later went with, elements to help you be not nervous as a performer.
Mm-hmm. I did pick up on that. I think there were parts of that where you see some of his brilliance come out, where he does like that hand gesture and he's like right here, and you go up, and he's doing those things that he always did in all his movies. But yeah, I think it's cool to see him in the movie, and I had no idea this was his first role.
He's so young.
Yeah, he looks really young. He's quite a bit thinner than he is in later movies too, and probably not as hardcore into the drugs. He looks very fresh-faced.
He almost looks like he has some muscles under there.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I think we talked about in the Tommy Boy episode, he was a high school football player and did rugby in college. So he was an athlete for sure. So Wayne compliments... Hold on. Yeah, okay. So Wayne and Garth go into the backstage area, and they get to meet Alice Cooper here. They compliment him on the show. Garth just stares at Alice and can't talk, which I thought was hilarious. And Alice Cooper is really knowledgeable about Milwaukee and history. Did that surprise you at all, that they wrote his character this way?
Did you read about this scene? Do you have any trivia to add?
I don't.
Okay, I had something about it. So I had read somewhere that in the scene, like, Alice Cooper thought that he was coming on just as like a cameo, and he didn't realize that he was going to have lines, let alone the extensive lines that he had. Which is kind of funny to see him, sort of, I don't want to say do a poor job of acting, but you could tell he's trying his best to remember and just to read off the lines and rattle them out. But he sounds intelligent. Like, he sounds like if you close your eyes, you're like, oh, this guy's a professor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting take on that. And, I think the highlight of the scene here is when Wayne and Garth fall to their knees and start the, we're not worthy, we're not worthy. I mean, I don't know how many times I've done that over the years, like joking around with people, but That's a pretty cool scene, right?
Well, you can go from swing to not worthy in like 0 to 1.
So Wayne and Garth show up on the set next. Benjamin explains this is going to be a big night for them, and Noah is your first guest here. They start to freak out a little bit. The show starts. Wayne goes to grab the guitar, but a song starts playing instead, and it's their theme song, now done with a full band, and they've got this guy introducing him. Party on, Wayne, and party on, Garth. I mean, how cheesy is that guy? Also, I think I missed my calling in life. I could totally do that. What do you think of this scene, though, here, before we get into what happens?
It's you can tell that it's something bad. It's heart-wrenching,
Yes.
Like the whole time it's an upbeat movie, and it is a comedy, but you realize like how badly, not that they sold out, but just how much Rob Lowe just took advantage of their innocence.
Yeah. And before the scene started, Russell had given Wayne some cue cards and told him just to read the cards, and he asked him for a marker, and he's going to take a couple notes. So when he starts to read Noah the questions, on the back of them, they have some pretty funny sayings here. The first one says, Sphincter Boy, and it has an arrow pointing to Noah. The second one says, he blows goats, I have proof. And then the last one said, this man has no penis. And the crew is just laughing hysterically. Noah is even getting a little uncomfortable, but he's looking at his wife, and she's just like, you're killing it. And they get done. He says, oh boy, that was fun. What'd you think of this scene here?
Yeah, Noah, he's got a lot of issues. He's very oblivious. His wife is very oblivious.
Yeah.
But you kind of don't want to let him in on the joke, because let him have those tender moments. Like his amount of obliviousness, oblivitude?
Yeah, oblivitude, that's a word.
His oblivitude is on par with, Wayne when he was signing the contract. And so it's like that level of who's really taking advantage of who. And like even saying that out loud now just really makes Rob Lowe's character all the more evil, because he's taking advantage of everyone at every time while trying to wet his whistle.
Yeah. Yeah, he wants to really wet that whistle too. Benjamin wants to know what the heck Wayne thinks he's doing. He calls him up to the booth. He tells him that's not what he's supposed to do. Wayne tries to explain that's what he normally does. He brings on guests and he makes fun of them. And Benjamin fires Wayne, and Wayne tries to explain that he's going to leave and take the show with him. And Benjamin explains that he can't because he now owns the show. And they go back to Garth in the studio by himself, and they try to go live, and that's going to be a disaster because Garth just panics and stares at the screen. Yeah, unfortunately, for Wayne's World, this is the end of the road here, we think. Anything you want to add to that?
I would love to see just the spin-off of just Garth. Just him on camera panicking for 30 minutes.
Yeah. Absolutely. That'd be a hilarious show. They should have done that skit on SNL.
Garth's Garage.
So they're back on the Murph-mobile again, where they're at earlier with the plane field there, or the airport. So they start arguing. Garth goes off on Wayne. You can't really hear anything because the plane flies over the top of them. At the end, Wayne says, "You kiss your mother with that mouth? You Damien?" I don't know what that means. I've always wondered, what's a Damien? How's that an insult?
I'm assuming Damien from The Omen, meaning he's evil.
Oh.
That's how I always took it.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. I like that phrase, too. If it means something else, tweet at us, at Back in Time Pod. Let us know. Next, Wayne gets to Cassandra's place next, to her apartment. She explains she's getting ready to leave for her shot. She begins to tell him she's getting ready to leave for her shoot. Wayne gets offensive and accuses her of sleeping with Benjamin, saying that he's poking you. And they get into a fight. She tells him to get out of here. Wayne exits and talks to the camera and says he doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's lost his show. He lost his girlfriend. He lost his best friend. Even the camera tries to walk away from him, too, which I found funny. What do you think of this scene?
The tragedy that is Wayne Campbell is unfolding, and all it took was him to take the contract process seriously.
Yeah, Absolutely. So we're going to see Garth in the donut shop next, just destroying a jelly donut man that he's made out of coffee straws. Have you ever done that with donuts, made them out of coffee straws, or do you just eat them?
Typically speaking, I would say 98% of the time I just eat the donut.
Yeah. Were you going to elaborate on that? What's the other 2%?
I'll tell you when you're older.
Oh, okay. Nice. They have a quick scene here where Glenn, the manager, Ed O'Neill, says, Indians believed it was a way to escape the soul from his body. I just love how creepy Glenn is, and one of the guys even tells him to be quiet when he finishes talking. So apparently Glenn may just be that guy that's always negative around the old donut coffee shop here. So Wayne's going to enter. He apologizes for what he did. The police officer sits next to Wayne and says, "It's a damn shame they ruined your program. Not that I ever watched it." Wayne says he does have one plan, and he opens a door, and there's a massive gunfighting just going on, and it looks like a movie set. Garth says, "What are you going to do with that?" "I don't know. I just always wanted to open a door to like a James Bond set." I don't know if this is like some fourth wall stuff here or what they're trying to accomplish. What do you think of this scene?
Yeah, it's difficult to put together what they're trying to accomplish because it's like a funny little poke at studio out of filming studio where it's like you can open any door and you could be walking to any different movie. But I don't know why they feel the need to stick that in there. Yeah.
It's a little confusing. Wayne and Garth sit back down. Garth gives Wayne some woman advice here, which was hilarious. Because, as we know, Garth is not the best with ladies. He just tends to shoot off of his seat when he sees them. Wayne says, "Wait a minute, I got it." And then they stand up, and they do that about 3 times in a row before he says, "I know the guy in the limo, Mr. B. If we can get him to listen to Cassandra, then maybe he'll sign her." And Garth explains, "Remember the security guard? He was going to be driving back on this day." And Wayne looks at the camera and says, "Weren't we lucky to be there and get all that absorbent information?"
It's such a funny play at like how easy it is to write a bad screenplay and just to have those scenes where you're just like, okay, I just need to stuff information in here. Just need a line of dialogue to like solve everything. And, thankfully they do that, but they at least draw attention to it in a very funny way.
Yeah, I think they do a nice job on the script side of like, let's let the audience in a little bit on like how that would work. And, it's almost like they're just kind of making fun of themselves.
Right.
Kind of a cool little scene. So Wayne is driving next and he gets pulled over. The cop approaches, he takes off his helmet and pulls out a Polaroid of John Connor and says, "Have you seen this boy?" And Wayne screams and drives off. That's our other Terminator 2 reference here. Wayne arrives at the set next. He tells Cassandra he set up an audition for her and her band. Benjamin tells him to leave. Wayne next does his Oscar clip. That's another subtitle on the back of the screen where he throws like water on his face and does some fake crying. He tries to call out Benjamin for being a fake. He goes over the camera and says, "You and I both know there's no film in this camera." And he opens the lid and the film goes rushing out. Before he can get into the car and leave, Cassandra ends up running out and tells him to wait and walks out on the video shoot. And Benjamin's left with nothing but his balls in his hand and a snake. What did you think of the decision here of Cassandra leaving the set and going with Wayne?
Finally, Wayne gets a little bit of a victory. Like he's put his work, he had his Oscar scene, he had his gratuitous sex scene.
Yeah.
He almost got molested by freaking T1000. No, T2000. T2000?
1000.
No, I think it's 2000. I think Arnold's the 1000, and I think.
No, I think
Patrick's
Arnold's
the
a T. I think Arnold's a T800. I can look it up.
No, no. Yeah, look it up.
Let me fact check. Let me fact check. Here we go. Here's the answer. Robert Patrick, T1000.
Damn it.
So it doesn't say what Arnold Schwarzenegger is. Let me see if it's in the first one. No, it just says Terminator for him. So I know he's an older model. They refer to what he is in Terminator 2, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
800 sounds right. So the T2000 models were just the foot soldier?
Yeah, I think that's in the later films, the sequels, by the other directors.
Props to you for bringing that one down. You're just a trivia machine.
Okay, so back at Garth's house, he's on the computer. He says, "That's right, girl. We got Mr. Big right where we want him." And his dog barks back at him. I love that he has a talking dog that he understands. That really fits his character well.
Yeah, and that he's apparently a satellite GPS aquanaut.
Again, he surprises us at different times here. So Garth and his crew break into the news station next. Russell is hiding out behind a tree, and he pops out. Garth tells him he doesn't have to do this, and he should help them. And he manages to get close enough where he can grab the flashlight from Russell, and he disarms it like you would disarm a loaded weapon.
I laughed so hard. I did not remember that scene. I laughed so hard when I was watching this.
Yeah.
He's just, the guys like go to rush at him, and he's like, "No, it's cool.
It's cool. It's cool. He's all right. He's going to be okay." So Benjamin's driving next. He gets pulled over by the cop from the donut shop, and he's going to give him the old reach around here. And we tells him to put his hands on the car, and we just hear a plastic glove slap. And then the other part is Benjamin just kind of like his head perks up when he hears the glove. So I love that they've got the cop in on it too to help them out. Wayne introduces Cassandra and her band next on the show. Says this is a special performance for Mr. Frankie Sharp. The limo is driving, and all we see are his feet tapping to the music. The limo takes a sharp turn and pulls a U-turn during the performance here. And it finishes up, and we see Mr. Frankie Sharp, and he walks up and introduces himself. He says he must say he's seen a lot of acts, but I think for you it's just the wrong time. And he walks off. Cassandra tells Wayne he screwed her career. Benjamin says, "I knew you were small time." His ex-girlfriend comes in and says, "Wayne, I'm pregnant. That's why I've been so moody." The control board shorts out and catches on fire. And the next part here is just Wayne holding Garth in his arms, and the entire house is burned down, and he's yelling, "Why, God, why?" What'd you think of the first ending here?
The first time you see the movie and you don't realize what's going on, it's really depressing to be like, oh, and then the house is on fire, and you're just kind of like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Something's not right here.
Mm-hmm. So Cassandra and Benjamin are on the island sipping drinks. Cassandra's wearing a bikini here. Anything you'd like to comment on Cassandra with right now?
I believe it's pronounced, correct me if I'm wrong, but Schwing? Am I doing that right?
Definitely. Tadpole. 10. She's a babe.
I thought you said tadpole.
Tenpole.
Tentpole. Yeah, not tadpole.
10 or tent?
Tent.
Tentpole.
Yeah.
Interesting. I might have to cut that out. Benjamin looks at the camera and says, "You didn't think she was going to..." Or sorry. Benjamin looks at the camera and says, "You really didn't think she was going to end up with Wayne, did you?" And we see Wayne and Garth appear on the screen. Wayne says, "We can't let the movie end like that." Garth said, "Let's do the Scooby-Doo ending." And the ending replays. Frankie Sharp introduces himself again. Wayne says, "Well, that'll wrap things up." He turns and looks at Benjamin and says, "Let's really see who's behind this mask." And he pulls off his face, and it's Old Man Withers. He runs the haunted amusement park. Good one, Shaggy. So what'd you think of the Scooby-Doo ending here?
You know, I remember being so confused as a kid, having no idea what the shit is going on.
It is very confusing.
It's so exciting, like the Scooby-Doo ending. Like, how cool is that? Why did I just do the Tim Allen? I meant to do that.
That was a Tim Allen one.
You can feel free to keep that in.
No, I'm keeping that in. You better believe that. So Garth says, "Let's do the mega happy ending." They do the diddle, and it replays one more time. Benjamin gets out of his car. He's limping because he just took a finger up the butt.
he's still Twilight stinking.
Yep. Frankie Sharp introduces himself again. He says that performance was so good, he's going to give them a 6-album deal starting tomorrow. Cassandra turns to Wayne and says that she loves him. She gives him a kiss. Garth and the Dream Woman come together face to face. She tells Garth that she loves him, and Garth says, I love you, Dream Woman. And they kiss. So Noah appears next and says, ever since I did your show, kids are looking at me at a whole different way now. He still doesn't get it. The movie ends with Wayne saying, isn't it great that we can all get along? Fish fins! And they start playing the Wayne's World theme. In the background, the credits start to roll. We got a quick credit scene here. Wayne talks a little bit, and then Garth says, well, I just hope that you people think it didn't suck. Talking about the movie. Any final thoughts on the ending here? The mega happy one.
They go from the complete polar opposites of everything goes wrong to the mega happy ending. A 6-record deal.
Right. For one song?
Yeah, and she's a cover band. Exactly.
Yeah, no, but overall, I know you said you hadn't watched the movie in a long time, so what were your thoughts here on the ending of Wayne's World? Or the movie in general, sorry.
It was worth the watch, It holds up in many ways. A lot of it's a lot funnier as we are adults, looking, they're 28 in this movie?
Yeah.
You look at them like they were so cool back then, but it's like, living at home when you're 28 and, they're clearly drinking and doing a lot of drugs, but they hide it well. They clearly hide it from their parents. But you're happy for them. It takes such an interesting take on Americana from the early 90s, and I know that it developed from Sunday Morning Brunch in Canada, but it's a great movie. I'm excited for us to do the sequel.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was thinking about when the movie ended. I can't remember the sequel, and did they do a lot of these like little twists and kind of a making fun of themselves a little bit as filmmakers, and like the fake endings. Like I don't think they do that in the sequel, and that might have been some of the brilliance of the director.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, I'll be interested to break that one down and kind of compare it. Honestly, I haven't seen Wayne's World 2 in a long time, so the only thing I remember is they have the reference to the Doors lead singer in there.
That's one of my big memories of the movie, too, is Jim Morrison.
Yeah, who's like my dad's favorite rock star. He actually has a Doors tattoo on his arm.
Oh, way to go, Mr. Autry.
Yeah, shout out to you, Papa Phil. He has no idea what a podcast is, so he'll never hear this. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a great movie. So that's going to wrap it up for today. I want to thank you guys again for hitting the download button on the podcast and listening. We appreciate the support. As always, we are on social media at Back in Time Pod on Twitter and Instagram. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/BackinTimePod. You can check out our website for all things Back in Time Podcast at backintimepod.wordpress.com. If you're listening to this on the if you're listening to this on the Apple Podcast, make sure you subscribe. That'll make sure you never miss an episode. And we'll be back next week with our teaser trailer breakdown and a brand new episode of what we don't really know what it is yet. But for Justin and myself, we're going to climb back into the DeLorean. We're going to punch in November 1st, 2017, and return back to present day. Have a great week, and thanks for listening.
Swing!
It means your future hasn't been written yet. No one's has. Your future is whatever you make it. So make it a good one. Both of you.